Ever since I recall, I have followed football, and ingrained in my heart are the Rangers FC. Through good and the bad, times of happy or sad, it will always be Rangers for me. For when I was a lad, I was led by the hand down the Paisley Road West. I will never forget that beautiful sight of the red, blue and white. From the day I'd be Rangers for life. And I vowed to my dad, if I too have a lad, I would show him the way as he did on that day. And so now here I stand with young Lyle by the hand, after walking down Paisley Road West.
So welcome along to down the Paisley Road West, and today's guest is Rangers legend Gordon Smith from the 70s. Welcome, Gordon.
Thank you, Simon. How you doing?
Gordon, you grew up as a boy as a Kilmarnock fan in Ayrshire, I believe in Kilwinning. I know your father was a big Kilmarnock supporter. So how did you become a Rangers fan?
Yeah, well, I was born in Kilwinning and grew up in Stevenston. So my grandfather had been a player for Kilmarnock as well. My grandpa won 2 Scottish Cups playing for Kilmarnock, and considering the fact that now they've only won 3 in their history, my grandpa actually is the only Kilmarnock player to win twice with Kelly. He played in the 20 final and 29. So my family were all big Kilmarnock fans, and I used to get taken then. My grandpa was dead. The one that played football was dead before I was born. So it was my other grandpa, my mum's dad, who actually was English, he came from Carlisle. He'd fought in the war for the border regiment, and then he came up to Scotland, married my gran, and then so he used to take me to football. He was a big football fan, so he got into following Kilmarnock as well because he'd come to live in Ayrshire.
Yeah.
So I used to go to Kelly games, and my uncle James took me too. So that was how I first got into watching football. I was going to Rugby Park to see Kelly.
And then I believe one day you seen the late great Jim Baxter.
Yes, I saw Jim Baxter play one day, and I was so thrilled by watching him. And the other aspect was, it was maybe because of his build and all that sort of thing, that I thought that he was like me. You know, I was about 9 years of age, and I thought that's who I want to be. And it turned out to be a fantastic thing for me, because what I started doing was kicking the ball with my left foot, because I wanted to be like Jim Baxter, and I started using my left foot all the time. And until a team manager who took over one of the teams I went to play for said to me, "You need to start using your other foot, son." He says, "You're too left-footed, too one-sided," and I was like, "All right." And he was quite surprised how quickly I went on to my right. But you know what? See, it was the greatest thing, my football career, becoming natural on both sides, being left and right-footed, which I was. I could play in either foot. My teammates I played over the years would be able to tell you that I could kick the ball with either foot. So I became a Rangers fan because of that, and became a Jim Baxter fan. I couldn't actually tell my dad, because I had to keep it quiet from him, because he was basically Kilmarnock, wasn't happy with all the people that leave Ayrshire to go and watch Rangers and Celtic all the time. He was always complaining about that. So I never ever told him I was a Rangers fan until I signed for Rangers.
So I mean, nowadays that was a great Rangers team you grew up watching, obviously as a Kilmarnock fan.
Yeah.
But and then you get Muller, Brandon Wilson. I know you know a lot of the old boys now.
Yeah.
So,
oh, it was great. I mean, that team, it was like, you know, you remember all the names: Richie Shearer, Caldo, Miller, Brian Wilson, and up front, and you had Greg McKinnon, Baxter, Henderson, McMillan. I've met all the guys in that team over the years and got to know them, and they're all really good people and great. I got to know Jim Baxter, which was terrific. And what was really pleasing for me was when I came to Rangers at first, he did some articles in the newspaper. I'd never met him at that stage, and he did some articles praising me. And it was great to get that sort of praise from somebody who was my hero when I was a boy. You know, for Jim Baxter to say that I was a good signing, I was a very good player, cultured player, and all that, it was a thrill. It was great to get that.
Yeah, and as a player, how do you feel he was watching him in that?
He was brilliant. He was absolutely great. I used to ask stories about him, even when I was at Kilmarnock. I signed for Kilmarnock, and I used to train with the first team when I was 14. And I was travelling in the car with. I was travelling up with Sandy McLaughlin, the goalkeeper, who'd played with him at Sunderland. And he used to tell me stories. I was always asking him about Baxter, and he told me a great story one day. They were playing Tottenham at White Hart Lane, and he came back with the ball, and he says to Sandy, "Quick, pick it up." And Sandy says, "I went to pick it up," and Baxter went running with the ball towards his own goal. And he stood in the goal line with his foot in the ball, and they were only winning 2-1 at the time, and they were in relegation trouble. And Sandy said he just stood there, and then he put it through Jimmy Greaves' legs, and then said to Sandy, "Right, you can pick it up now." And Sandy said, "I still had to dive on it," and they were all going berserk on the touchline. But he said he was such a great player. His problem was just his social life. Sandy McLaughlin said a comment to me that I didn't understand at the time what he meant, but it was years later before I realised when he said there wasn't enough nights in the week for Jim.
Yeah.
That was his comment, so I realise now what he meant by that.
So you watched some of the, possibly the greatest Rangers team there was growing up, and that inspired you to become a fan. And then in 1977, you were signed by Glasgow Rangers for £65,000, I believe.
Yeah.
And you made your debut against Partick Thistle.
Yeah, I made my starting debut was against Partick Thistle in a league game. It was quite interesting. You know, we went on to win the treble, and Rangers had already lost the first 2 league games to Aberdeen and Hibs. And I get put in the side at Partick, so I should always be able to claim the fact that I turned around that team. The boys would laugh if I said that, but no, I went in for the 3rd match and I scored 2 goals at Firhill. We beat Partick Thistle 4-0. I got brought down for a penalty as well in the first half, and so we went on to win that game and then we went on a good run after that. But it was great when I signed for Rangers. It was amazing signing. You know, I shook Jock Wallace's hand when he signed me, and I was just delighted to sign. And then he said to me, "That's taken a while," and I went, "What do you mean?" He says, "I've been trying to sign you for the last 4 years. Do you not know that?" And I said, "No." He says, "I've been in twice a year for 4 years to buy you since I was 18 years of age. You've been trying to buy me." So I've been in the Commander first team since 17, and he tried to buy me. So that was a major shock to me that Rangers have been trying to buy me. No one had told me. I didn't know.
You've signed for Rangers, your boyhood heroes, one of the biggest football clubs in the world, and you meet the legendary Jock Wallace in a treble-winning season of '77. You're one of the best players in the team. I want to know about Ghislaine Sands, the training regime, and how it was at the club at the time, and your memories of Jock Wallace.
Well, I signed just after the season started, so I had missed the training. I got to experience Gullen later in following seasons when John Gregg had taken over, because Jock Wallace had 1 season with Jock Wallace, and it was a major disappointment to me I had 1 season with him, because I found him to be marvellous. A lot to do with the fact that if somebody really appreciates you and likes you and gives you that feeling that they want you in their team, you're doing a good job. I mean, I scored 27 goals. A lot of Rangers fans still think I was a striker, and I wasn't. I signed from Kelly as a winger. Kelly had been playing in the wing. I came to Rangers and I said to Jock Wallace, "You know, why have you signed me? Because you've just signed Davy Cooper. You've got Tommy McLean, Boy McKean there." I said, "Why have you signed me?" And he goes, "I'm not going to play in the wing." He says, "When I first saw you playing, when you were 18, you were playing midfield." He says, "And that's where I'm going to play you." And I said, "Midfield?" He goes, "Centre of midfield." He says, "And you've got the ability to get forward, to link up with Derry Johnson up front. That's where I'm playing you." So I played in midfield. A lot of Rangers fans say I was a striker. I wasn't. I played about 5 games for Rangers in my 3 years there as a striker, and the 5 games were away from home in European matches because I was a good runner.
Yeah.
I played striker. Every other game I played in midfield, and I scored 27 goals, which was fantastic for me. But Jock Wallace, in my mind, was the best manager I played for my time. I played for some good ones, but he was the best. And it was sometimes later on after I left Rangers before I realised how good he was in terms of, you know, how to get you going as a player. I remember, I'll give you a good example of his man management, which is terrific. I was playing a game, I can't remember who I played, but I obviously hadn't played well. And I was sitting there, I wasn't at Rangers very long at the time, and I must have been sitting there in the dressing room just with my face on, and Jock Wallace came across and he just poked me in the chest. He says, "Smithy." And I looked up and I thought, I'm going to get a row here. And he said, if you give me as much effort as you gave me today, you'll always be in this team. And I was like, you know, what a lift that was.
Felt great, yeah.
Felt great, Simon. After City Show, I'm thinking, I'm having a nightmare, I might get left out of the team. What he's saying to me is, and he's recognising, it was years later, I thought, rather than come up and say you were crap today, he's just said, you gave them all, you gave your all, and if you give me your all like that, you'll always be in this team. What a tremendous boost. And Jock Wallace was very clever that way. They say, you know, he was in my mind, a lot, people always think a big hard man, big tough guy, just there to shout at players and all that. He was a lot better than that, and I give him more credit than other people do.
Yeah, cause that's what I was going to ask you. There was I won't mention who the journalists are, but just after Jock had died, a few people wanted to stick a put in, and they basically they painted a character that I don't believe existed.
No, I would agree with that. I think I saw 1 or 2 people writing things, and I didn't agree with it at all. And I did have the ability, on things we spoke about, radio and in my newspaper column at the time, I did put people right about it, and I've done it in my book as well.
Yeah.
In my autobiography I've said about Jock, and deserves all the credit, and it was a major blow when he left. I mean, my mum woke me up, after winning the treble, my mum woke me up in the morning, the season was finished, and she said, it's just on the news there, Jock Wallace has left Rangers. I must be honest, it was like a family member dying when you get told that. I just did not want that to happen, because for me, I'd achieved what I wanted in the game, was to play for Rangers. I'd achieved the treble. I was playing for a guy who liked me, and I could tell he did, but you know, he wanted something from you. He demanded like a great deal of work. I was hard working. I was a teetotal. I didn't drink because I was dedicated to my sport. I wanted to be the best I could be, and so I looked after myself. I was fit, I trained hard, and I did a good job for him, and he treated me so well because of that. And for him to leave Rangers that time was a major blow to me.
The next part of the question I want to ask you was, the first time I ever met you, Gordon, was when I asked you a personal favour, was for the 10th anniversary of Davy Cooper's death, to represent Davy. I know he was a great friend of yours.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah, Davy Cooper was marvellous. I hadn't seen Davy even play when I went to Rangers, and it was amazing at the sight. The fact I signed at the same time as two young players who I hadn't seen play, and then I got to see them play. The first game I was at Rangers, I was on the bench. I was playing young boys at Bern in a European game, and the one I got the most shock about was I turned to people on the bench and said, would that lad playing for Shettleston last year? And it was Bobby Russell. And I think, how could he be playing for Shettleston and he's now running a European match, which he was playing great. And then see Cooper in the training and all that. David Cooper didn't know him well, but we felt we had a real bond because we were the three new boys in that team. We'd come in at the same time, and albeit I had a much longer record than the other two. I played at a high level. I'd been playing first team football for Kilmarnock for 5 years, but it was great to mix in with them. Coop was a great lad. He was quiet. A lot of people gave him the false impression too that Coop was a kind of sullen character. He was not friendly, but he was, and he was a laugh. And he you know, you could have great times. I used to go for lunch most days with him. It was quite a strange thing. Nobody really picked up on it. But I used to work in the afternoons when I went to Rangers because I actually kept my job going, and I used to go for lunch with Coop and Bobby Russell. Derek Parling used to come as well. I got friendly with Derek, and then I would go to work in the afternoons because that was me. I wanted to just keep working away. But Coop, we kept touch over the years. Always great friends, great player. I would say, in terms of ability wise, the best player that I played with in terms of skill, no doubt about it. Coop got a hard time when he went to Rangers. Even that treble winning season at first, his form wasn't great that season, and a lot to do with the fact was the players were quite hard. The older guys at the club were quite hard on you. Now I was used to that because that's the way it is at the top clubs. You had to have a strong mentality, thick skin in terms of what people said to you. Coop was getting affected, and quite a lot of times I was having to say to Coop when we're going for lunch and things, they're only making a joke, don't bother about it, don't be upset, because he was getting affected by it a little bit. It took him a wee while to adjust to that, and I felt I was able to help him there. But the other aspect of it was that Coop, I feel that he's also a guy that thrives on getting appreciated and people liking what he does, and I think that from that point of view, I think even his days at Motherwell when they gave him a free role, if Coop had been playing in Spain or Italy or something like that, he would have been a playmaker. He wouldn't have been a winger. Winger's a Scottish thing. You get thrown, if you can't tackle anybody in Scotland, you get put in the wing, and that's what happened with Coop. But Coop probably would have done a much better job even for Rangers if they'd just given Coop the freedom to go and play. He would have destroyed teams. He did it anyway, but he would have destroyed more teams at the highest level. And